And we're live at the podcast. Welcome, everybody. Off we go.
Welcome to the Sales Slap podcast, where we hit you with the hard truths, bold strategies, and expert insights you need to master the art of selling. And who's leading the charge? Meet your hosts, Rick Denley, Simon Hares, and Scott Donald. Get ready for real talk, expert advice, and game-changing strategies. Because in sales, you don't just play, you slap. Let's dive in.
And diving in, we are with your co-hosts here. Good morning, gentlemen. How are everybody today?
Just as grand as we were before you started.
Simon is extra. So, hey, to our millions of watchers and listeners, Simon is extra punchy today.
I am.
No.
Oh, so look out.
And we look fantastic, don't we? As a trio.
We do look fantastic.
I do hope our lovely guest is wearing his.
Wouldn't it be cool if Lee?
Yeah. Who do we have on the show today? Well,
yeah, I don't know. Who could it be?
I'm going to share with. Don't do that yet.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mother. Oh.
Been called worse. When salespeople aren't winning deals at desired levels or volumes, executives turn to Lee Salz. Lee is a leading sales management strategist and founder of Sales Architects. He has helped hundreds of companies in various industries and sizes create marketplace disruption, leading to explosive, profitable growth. I need everybody to help me welcome this gentleman now to our show.
Who is it?
Welcome, my friend.
It's Lee Salz. Hello,
Lee. Welcome.
Look at that T-shirt you're wearing, Lee. It's fantastic.
Oh, my gosh. I guess you would say I got sales slapped for not wearing my own T-shirt.
Let's keep it at sales slapped. Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, my goodness.
Good morning.
Oh, my goodness. The abuse has started very early today.
It is great to have you on the show. My
It's wonderful to be together again.
I've been up all day, Lee, so I'm just primed and ready to go.
It's what we do here, Lee. So listen, we're really excited to have you on the show, obviously. And it's great you sent us some wardrobe because we ran out of shirts to wear. So
now you didn't have to do laundry.
We're going to sport these all day long. I want to get right into it because we have a limited time here. And I just want to jump right in and see. Lee, why'd you write the book?
I had nothing else to do.
I'm going to doubt that very much.
Millions.
Very much. The First Meeting Differentiator, transforming sales-focused discovery into client-centric consultations. Why write the book? Why do we need it as salespeople?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and it's normally coupled with, and why should I read it? And if anyone watching today is thinking that you're going to love Chapter 5 on empathetic expertise, which dives into the art of emotionally connecting with your buyers to energize your deals. Here's the thing. So many studies have been conducted that talk about that first meeting, and it's critical when it comes to increasing win rates. The first meeting is the deal foundation. When the deal doesn't happen the way you want it to, you can always trace it back to that first meeting, because when that first meeting is weak, the deal is weak. But what I found is so few companies have fully defined that first meeting strategy. What they do is they assume, and you know what happens when we assume? Mm-hmm. They assume that they hire salespeople and say, you got to have that first meeting and you got to do a good job. They ask some good questions and tell them about our stuff. And that right there is such a flawed approach, and it causes sales organizations to underperform. Now, this isn't new. This is just as true today as it was a century ago, and will probably be the same for generations to come, because the principles of human connection, trust building, and differentiation are truly timeless. So if that first meeting, if it goes 15 minutes or 2 hours, there are non-negotiable elements that have to be addressed, right? You got to qualify, got to differentiate what and how you sell. You got to create emotional engagement. You need to share information. You need to also acquire information. So that's why I wrote the First Meeting Differentiator, was to give executives and salespeople an implementable methodology to create a first meeting framework. What's really interesting is, and I'm sure you've seen this, you can go into Amazon. There are thousands, literally thousands of books on how to get a meeting, on prospecting. Now go in and say, give me a book. I got the meeting. Give me a book that says How do I put together a game plan? Because we said that first meeting is the deal foundation. Find me a book that shows you how to build that foundation. Believe it or not, there wasn't one until this one came out. Now, loads of sales books talk about, here's a way to ask some questions or tell stories. But one not dedicated to getting the meeting, not what to do after the meeting, that's what this book's all about.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And we thank you for the advanced copies, because even Scott read it. And I mean, that's a really big
I was
deal.
hoping for more pictures, actually.
I meant to send you crayons with it. My apologies.
Simon read it 3 times
Sat there
probably
for
with his
hours,
highlighters,
waiting for
because
the images to move.
that's what he does. But no, we did. We had the opportunity to read through it as well. And I know the guys are chomping at the bit to throw some questions your way. So let's get started, gentlemen.
Let's do it.
Simon, you actually wrote in the book a little bit, some kind words. Why don't you go first?
Well, yeah, and thank you, Lee. That's great, because I read this quite a while ago.
Well, this is called Lee Salz is on the hot seat. So have at it.
It's all good. And Lee, and this isn't me blowing smoke up your ass, but I've been a huge fan. And the reason that I love what you write is because it works and you can use it right off the page. And one example I want to just reference is your follow-up criteria, where you say, this is your problem, this is your goal, this is what I heard, is what I say. This is what I heard, this is how we can help you, this is your to-do list, my to-do list, and next steps. That 5-stage criteria has won me so much business.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful. You're referring to the recap email, right?
Yeah.
The recap email.
It's so important. And I know that the people I've trained and again, I refer people to your books.
Thank you.
They work. It works. And that's what I love about it. There's something, it's authentic and it's real. And I think if you are a salesperson who wants to sell, not has to sell, but generally wants to sell, I think your books just sit in perfectly with development. So I love all of that.
Thank you so much.
There's a couple of things that are in here that I really like, that I think our viewers would love to hear a little more on. And I've got 2 areas I'd love to ask you about.
Okay.
First one is, you started to talk about this first meeting. And in the book, you talk about criterias for great consultations. Yes. And you use that word. I work within environments where the consultation is everything, and they use those words too. So could you share with us what your thoughts are on what a great consultation actually is?
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, I'm going to take a step back, because you're using a word that not everyone uses universally. Usually when you talk about that first meeting, you're calling it a discovery. And I'm on a mission to eradicate that expression from that sales world. And here's why. To your question, Simon, how do we plan for a discovery? Let me make a list of the questions I'm going to ask and the message points that I'm going to share with them, what I'm going to show them. And I love to ask salespeople this question. If I agree to take that meeting with you, what do I get out of it? And you know what they'll say to me? Well, you're going to learn about my company and what we offer. That's a big fail. And they're puzzled. I'll say, allow me to explain. There are 2 types of sales, and I'm going to use a bathroom metaphor to depict those 2. You guys ready?
Go on.
Okay. You buy toilet paper, I sell toilet paper. But you're buying my competitor's toilet paper, and I'm saying you should be buying my toilet paper because it's superior. That's a takeaway sale. That's the environment most salespeople are in. Let me give you the second scenario. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You buy toilet paper, I sell bidets. It's an alternative way of addressing an issue. That's a demand gen sell. But as I mentioned, most of us are in this takeaway environment. So think about this. You're reaching out to someone and saying, put the 400 things on your desk aside and meet with me, because what you're going to get out of it, you're going to learn about my stuff. But I already have a provider. So that's not meaningful value to me. And that right there is what makes prospecting so hard. We've conditioned the general public to believe, and rightfully so, that the only time to meet with a salesperson is when you're ready to buy something, because you're not going to get anything out of that meeting. So what if we borrow from the medical profession? If you think about the times when you've gone to the doctor, you go there for 2 reasons: to become wiser about your circumstances and to understand potential remedies. You sure wouldn't go if you thought the entire visit, the purpose of it, was for the doctor. They're going to gather all this data, all this information, but it's all for the doctor, nothing for you. That's what discovery is.
Yeah.
So let's come back to that point. What is the meaningful value that they're looking for? They need to learn something during that time with you that makes them wiser. So something that helps them in their role, something that helps their company, or even better, helps both. Now, I know our viewers love free things, so I'm going to share a URL. It's going to be very difficult to remember. You guys ready?
Okay.
Meaningfulvalue.com.
I'm going to write that. I'm going to write that down with my pen.
Ooh, that's a nice pen. Where'd you get that?
Just some guy on the street.
Some guy's not wearing the t-shirt. But anyway, if you go to meaningfulvalue.com, you can download my tip sheet, 10 ways to provide meaningful value during meetings. So you're going to learn a best practice. You're going to learn a way to become more efficient, a way to reduce costs, etc. That's the key. You have to identify what that meaningful value is, that if I agree to take that meeting with you, I'm going to get something out of that time together. But here's the best part. Once you define the meaningful value for that first meeting, that consultation, because obviously that's what the medical profession calls it, you fold that into your prospecting messaging. By the way, Simon, when we get together, I'll share with you a best practice that manufacturing CFOs are using to creatively reduce costs. Oh, if I meet with Lee, I'm going to learn something that's going to help me in my role and help my business. I'll take that meeting. And Simon, so coming back to your question, how do we put together an effective strategy? Like I said, with discovery, we start by making a list of questions and message points. But, there's an infinite number of questions you could ask, and only so many someone's going to tolerate. You could talk about your company and what you sell for 16 hours, but no one's giving you a 16-hour meeting. I don't think you'd want one anyway. So what you're referencing in the book is what I call reverse engineering the first meeting, which means let's define the outcomes that would make for a great first meeting. So we ask ourselves this question. It was a great first meeting if we accomplished what? What does success look like? And then once we identify what that success looks like, then across the rows, imagine a project plan. Across the rows, we say, how do we achieve each of these outcomes? What am I going to ask? What am I going to say? What am I going to show them? What actions am I going to take to achieve each outcome? And because this is now like a project plan, what questions are we going to ask? Only the ones tied to the outcomes we've identified. What information are we going to share? Only the information tied to the outcomes that we've identified. And Simon, as you probably saw in the book, each chapter, not only are there stories, but there's workshops with downloads. So there's a multi-page document that you can download where I provide probably 95% of the common outcomes that you'd be looking for in a first meeting. So it saves you a lot of time. You just check the boxes, and then you develop your game plan to achieve each one.
Lee, that's great, because I know that you've got Simon doing all the sales training and strategy training coming from Scott, myself speaking from stage. We're always looking to interact as well with exercises, and you mentioned stories, and I want to get to those a little bit later as well. So I think that that's just an amazing way to share with everybody, and that end game, and then working it backwards. A lot of people don't know that I am a recovering engineer. So I love the engineering concept. And you start at the end and say, well, this is what I want it to look like. Just like Simon's got those beautiful Lego pieces built behind him.
Yes.
And say, okay, how am I going to get there? And then you've got this beautiful instruction booklet as well going for it. So love the concept as well. Great.
And by the way, Simon, I've spent a small fortune on Lego pieces. They're all boxed up. I'll tell you a funny story. Because in Mall of America, I'm in Minnesota, Mall of America, they have this huge Lego setup. You should visit if you haven't already. And when my sons were younger, we went with my in-laws, and my boys saw these huge airplanes that you could make out of Legos, and it's sold as a kit. So my in-laws bought it for them. Come home, my father-in-law's sitting at the table, putting these together, quote unquote, with the boys. He was really doing all the work. He gets them both built because, of course, each one of them needed their own plane. Hours. and they were still little. They were, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
Hey, let's see if it flies. It hits the floor. I thought my father-in-law was going to cry because all this work was now in a million pieces on the floor.
I just shock it. I can't believe people would do that as well. There's a guy on YouTube that he says he's this a Lego builder, and he's got all of these big Star Wars ships. And he says, if you can get me to 300 likes on this video, I will throw this down the stairs. And I'm sat there looking at this thing. I mean, he's thrown the Razor Crest down there.
Oh
and,
my gosh!
It's just shocking.
They're just made to be rebuilt as well.
Just make me rebuild it. But Lee, if you've got in your attic the Imperial Walker and you don't want it, let's talk separately. I need that in my life, and the scalpers are just having me on at the moment.
Okay, so I'm a Lego guy too, but you Star Wars guys could geek out after.
Far be it for me to bring us back on topic, because that's not my gift.
It's a first meeting thing. It's bringing value, Scott. Are you not keeping up?
No,
here's the thing. Legos, there's a metaphor here. Legos are the building blocks, just like the first meeting is the building blocks for your deal. Ding, 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 ding.
All right, Scott.
There's now, Scooter.
Scott, there's your lead in, my friend. All right. Take it away.
Okay, good. I can rest easy now. So what's interesting about this is that I've always kind of preached this notion of how important discovery meetings are, and I've kind of that was a message of mine. So when I was reading the book, I was open yet, okay, how is Lee going to do this? And it's interesting because my first question was about the consultative mindset versus the discovery meeting. So you've already covered that. So I had to do a little bit of a scramble here, which is why I got the book in front of me. And one of the pages that I dog-eared and underlined, and I love this point. He said, I wish, it's on page 11 at the top, Lee, if you remember. I wish the sales world would required a demonstration of mastery before salespeople could sell independently, right? So now we're kind of going back a little bit to that medical model of being able to demonstrate competency. And I love this notion, and it kind of sets up my next question, which I'll try to ask later on. But this notion here about not just product training, but mastery of the actual sales process, as we say here in Canada.
Yes.
Why is that so important? And why did you make that point around requiring salespeople to have a certain amount of mastery before they kind of go out into the real world, if you will?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because if you think about when that salesperson goes out into the world, has that company business card, it doesn't matter what you're selling, a product, service, technology, you are now the brand.
Yes.
And so if you're inept in that meeting, you're asking ridiculous questions, you're not prepared, you don't have any information to share that would be helpful, you don't provide meaningful value during that meeting, that is now the brand perception, not just of you, it's of what you're selling as well. So I'm a huge proponent of during onboarding that there's a module there when you're teaching them how to sell for the company, that you test them before they go out in the field.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love it. But what if they have a really great 20-page PowerPoint deck, Lee? Doesn't that make up for their lack of sales competency?
I'm out. I'm done.
I'm out.
But the point I'm making is that
PowerPoint decks start with the words, let's tell you a bit about us.
Yes, please.
But I think the point is that when you go back to this notion of lack of training, right? Yes. So the companies will train on product. Right. And we've all seen this, right? Where sales reps can't wait to show you their PowerPoint presentation.
That's right.
Right. And I think this goes back to what you wrote in the book there on page 11, which is around competency. There's no competency. There's no consultation. There's no old world discovery that's being done when you're doing a PowerPoint presentation. So anyway, I love that comment about this notion of helping salespeople have a certain level of competency on the sales process before going out in the world and representing your organization.
And there's another piece of that. I get into this later in the book. It's a retention issue. So when you look at the first meeting as discovery, you say, boy, what am I going to tell them? When you think of it in terms of a consultation, you ask a totally different question. What do I want them to remember? What do I want them to remember? Totally different strategy when you talk about planning a first meeting, when you look at it through that lens. because now you recognize things like Herman Ebbinghaus. Do you know that name? I know I talked about him in the book. Were you familiar with that name before?
I'm not.
Okay. So he developed what's known as the forgetting curve. Back in the late 1800s, he conducted this memory and retention study, and it's still valid today. What he found was that people forget 50% of what they learned within 24 hours and remember less than 10% a week later. So let me do that math for you. You have a 1 hour first meeting. A week later, they remember about 6 minutes of it.
Right.
Ouch. Ouch. That's why Simon was referencing the recap email before, because that's another way that you beat that curve. You say, okay, I'm going to send them that email and remind them of those key points. But there's something else we have to be thinking about, how we convey information during that meeting. Tons of memory studies have shown that when you share facts and figures during a meeting, people are less likely to remember those when they're shared independently. But if you share them embedded within stories, they become much more memorable.
Right. Now we're talking about neuroscience, right? And when people are listening to information through the lens of trust and the trusted relationship and all, the neuroscience tells us they're more likely to retain that information.
And I love the fact about the story. I've got to put this across the bottom. So my kids were notorious for always reminding me, and they'd say, okay, here it comes. At the end of whatever it was, a great day, a vacation, anything else, me as dad would say, well, geez, wasn't that a great vacation and things? We went here, we did this, and they'll roll their eyes like kids would do at the time and go, here comes the Ricky recap, they used to call it. But I love it because I found it essential, and you don't want to lose those captured moments as well and the highlights. And it's funny because we were at the Thanksgiving table this year, and of course, my kids, as we call them, they're 30 and 32 adult men now, did the same thing. And I happen to be talking after the fact. You go, here comes a Ricky recap. But it's essential because
it's a sales lesson, right?
Points so that your client and yourself start collaborating together and remembering all those main areas. So anyway, great point. And I love when you talk about the stories in there because Simon, you even do a course and a training course on storytelling, correct?
Yeah, sales. I do. And we do a lot of stuff around this concept that Bernadette McClelland's, one of our previous guests, calls story selling. And that element from her book Shift and Disrupt, which is incredibly good. I think she's the mistress of storytelling. She's exceptional.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that I'm taking away from this as well is that, and I took it away from the book, is that some of the very modern vernacular we're using in sales, like discovery, which is still quite modern because for years we called it fact-finding and questioning or probing or what have you.
We called it needs analysis at one point.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Then we went into the overly consultative sale where we forgot to sell because we became counselors and wondered why we didn't hit our targets. Nobody ever came back. So the discovery side is now being elevated and turned around. And I want to pick up on another very modern thing that people are still trying to get their head around that you've just completely kind of thrown out of the window and called a lottery, which is the ICP. And, you know, people are still trying to get their head around the fact that they need to have an ICP, an ideal client profile, but you have kind of spun that in a different and much more relevant way. And tell us about that, because I find this one of the most exciting parts of your book.
Oh, well, thank you. An ideal client profile. If any of you have one, please throw it away. You don't want that. You don't want an ideal client profile. Chuck it. Here's why. An ideal client profile says, if all the stars were to align, this is the kind of business we'd love to have. It's like a lottery ticket. It's a 1 in a gazillion chance you'll ever find one of these. Now, if you look up the word ideal in the dictionary, you know what you'll find? Sure. Existing only in one's mind. Like sales isn't hard enough. You're going to give me something that's only inside my head. What every salesperson does need, and this is what I talk about in the book, is a target client profile. And I'm not wordsmithing there. It's a totally different concept. A target client profile says this is who will perceive the most meaningful value in what we offer, which gives deals the greatest likelihood of coming to fruition. So what you'll see in the book is I lay out a 12-component target client profile tool. And there's, again, a downloadable workshop that you go through to complete that. Because one of the things we say to salespeople, you've got to qualify your deals. And they go, qualify. Yep, got to do that. Relative to what? We've got to give them that benchmarking tool. Well, this becomes that benchmarking tool. Do you think that happens so often? And I'm sure you had this experience as well. Salespeople will chase a deal for several months, if not years.
Yeah.
And then they come to you and ask you to do a post-mortem because they say they lost the deal. And they take you through the deal journey. And after hearing it, I'll say to them, oh, you didn't lose this deal. And they'll say, well, we didn't win it. Now, that's true. You didn't win it, but you didn't lose it. You were never a viable option. You were never in the game. And if you would have qualified in the first 15 minutes of that first meeting, you would have said, this is not a deal for us.
Yeah.
Run.
Right.
Because we all know time is the most precious resource for a salesperson. And the worst thing that we can do is chase deals that have no chance of coming to fruition, but we do that every day. If you develop this target client profile tool, now you have the ability to carefully look at each deal and say, should I go after this or not?
Yeah.
And qualifying happens before you pick up the phone, before you send the email. But for me, that go, no-go decision, I'm going to be making that during the first meeting.
Yeah.
There.
And Lee, I got to jump in because this nicely dovetails into my question. You know, I'm all about leadership, and in this case, sales leadership. And
Sure.
I'm going to ask you, what can sales leaders be doing? And you just mentioned one. I think that helping
huge one.
salespeople qualify better is huge. But I still want to ask the question because I want to do a quick summary for our viewers here as well. Chapter 6, developing questions that qualify deals and differentiate them is brilliant. Then we have chapter 7, developing compelling stories to engage and excite. And finally, chapter 8, creating consultative cliffhangers to want more for your client to want more. Out of those 3 chapters, what can leaders be doing to help the salespeople along in their journey? Because it's so important that sales leaders bring that value to the salespeople. What would you recommend?
You know, you missed my favorite chapter, the one before, chapter 5 on empathetic expertise.
Okay.
You want to move the needle. There's an expression in sales, a concept in sales that's been around since the beginning of selling. People buy based on emotion and justify their decisions with logic. Every salesperson on the planet has heard that a gazillion times. Now find a salesperson that can actually do it and does do it on a regular basis. I'll bet you the deed to my house that if we recorded 100 first meetings across all market segments, all sale types, all around the world, 99 of that 100, if not all 100, the entire conversation was logic. And I struggle with this because every salesperson on the planet has heard that expression, but no one does it. How could that be? And I finally had this epiphany. You may remember from when we talked last time. I have 2 sons that played college baseball. And I remember when they were little and they were first learning the game, probably around the time when they were throwing Legos around. That was for you, Simon.
Simon Shutters.
And they were learning to play baseball. And the coaches would say, now the name of the game is to hit home runs. And the big smile, got it, hit home runs. Guess what? They didn't hit home runs until they were taught how to hit home runs. So we're preaching to salespeople. People buy based on emotion, justify their decisions with logic, but we're not teaching them how to engage emotions in a meaningful way. So I'll give you an example. We talked about questions a moment ago. So a salesperson will ask a question like, what's the biggest challenge you face in your business today? As a result, you'll get information. That's a logic question. It's a fact-based question, and it yields information. But what if I phrase it this way? Simon, what's that one thing in your business? That one thing you're like, oh, we got to figure that out. What is it? Did you all feel that question?
Yeah.
And this is just a podcast interview. You can imagine when you're in the field, you do something like that. I've been working with so many clients of late on asking what I call emotive questions. So what you do, your question, Rick, was about what can sales leaders do?
Yeah.
Make a list of the questions your salespeople are asking during first meetings and identify the ones where there's a necessity and an opportunity to turn it into an emotive question. Not every question needs to be emotive. So that's the necessity part. And then what are the ones we can make emotive?
Well,
Okay,
I think that when we are trying to get emotion out and into the sales conversation,
Yeah.
I think consequentive questions are very good. So what happens if you don't get this? What happens if you don't reach these people?
Right.
So that you get the person thinking about just how much they want what they think they want.
Yes.
But as a trainer and a sales professional, the one question that I ask salespeople during training is my killer question. And it kind of floors them because they take it for granted. But when I ask it, they've really got to think about it. And that question I ask them is, would you buy from you? And a lot of the time someone will go, yeah, sure, I know my shit. I know my product. It's like, yeah, of course you do, because product sales training is sales training, isn't it?
Yes.
But it's genuinely, do you really care about what you sell? Do you believe in it? Or are you just here for the paycheck? And it comes down to those things around people who want to sell and people who have to sell, and people who really care about selling and really care about their product.
Yeah.
And I'm always really keen to find out whether people have enough emotion within themselves about what they do before they try to transmit that to the client. Because if they don't, then it's just going to come across as fake.
That's a great point. Great point.
They've got to be able to care. And I know when I interview salespeople, and I get involved quite a lot with that with clients who want that perspective. And I say to them, you know, why should I buy from you? And it sometimes makes them stop because they're not expecting that question.
Yes.
But when they do think about it and answer it, they always go back to product knowledge. Will I get trained on stuff? And it's like, no, what I'm really looking for you to say to me is, because I genuinely give a shit and I love your product. Do you know what I mean? It's not hard. Just make me feel something.
Yes, that's a great point.
It's kind of
and what you just said is really important. And I talk about this in the book and repetitively. If you want them to do something, they need to feel something. Because countless studies have been done that people are making decisions based on emotion, justifying with logic. So on the one hand, we're having logic conversations, but they're making decisions based on emotion. So we have a huge sales alignment issue. We're having the wrong conversations.
So I'm going to, you know what, I wanted to ask this as a question, but I see that we're out of time. So maybe I'm going to try to make it as a point. And what it'll do, hopefully, is to lead more people to want to read the book.
Well, thank you.
So a lot of what we're talking about here is really what I would call the soft skills, right? So storytelling and emotional connection and trust. But I think what I've taken from the book so far, I haven't finished reading it yet, is, and I'm looking at the question I was going to ask, which is about the execution environment. And what it says to me is, you know, this book, while it talks about, you know, the emotive and soft skills, it is very much about the process or systematizing sales. And I'm guessing you're nodding because we're in agreement here that in many cases, you mentioned game plan, and I love the notion of a sales game plan.
Yes. And
what we're really doing here is that we're overlaying a process or a system for selling, so that part of being ready to go out into the world is that you actually are thinking about the customer, you're thinking about the soft skills and the trust and the storytelling, but you're also overlaying a process and a system to it. And I'm guessing that the short answer is, I'm guessing what you think is that both of these sides of selling are really important before sending a salesperson out into the wild, as we referred to it before.
Great question. So the first thing is, I really take issue with referring to it as soft skills. I hate that.
I know.
I hate that expression. And I don't mean with you, just in general. It doesn't give the level of seriousness to what we're talking about. Just like I hate the expression role playing.
Yeah.
That doesn't give it the level of seriousness that it really represents. I call it skill practice or skill development. So when we're talking about, and your question is, does the book guide you on that journey? Absolutely. When you go through that whole book and download the workshops and go through this, you will now have a sales system.
Yeah.
Look at that handsome devil. Look at that.
Oh, who is that?
Who is that?
I know. My wife asked me the other day.
I had to get that up for you.
Get that framed? She was like, can we get that framed? I'm like, why?
There. You see, The Necessary Death of Discovery Meetings is an incredible title in the magazine and a lead-in as well. To
Rick,
this.
where did you go? Wait, in that previous screen, you couldn't see your head. You were just like a
I got
logo.
slapped. I got slapped.
Good.
Hey, I have one too. I
Hey,
got the t-shirt.
hey,
I got the book.
I want to throw something in here, and I want to think about all those people that are watching this that think about, I've been selling for years, I've been doing this. Well, guess what? So have we. And I think that anyone who is new to sales, who is nervous about getting into sales and nervous about those first steps, this book is going to help you,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
But I also want to think about those people that are experienced salespeople that are taking over from another salesperson who has left that business and they are filling their role.
Mm-hmm.
They will be taking over clients for whom they have never spoken to before. And so they will be having a first meeting
Yes.
that will be based on the expectations that have been delivered by the previous salesperson.
Right.
This book is going to help you get through that too. Whether it is your first meeting with the client, whether it is the first meeting because you've never done it before, whether you're a manager and you're going out for a first meeting with somebody who you're coaching and mentoring, this book is going to help you do that. I have read this book now 3 times because I had very early copies. I've read it 3 times. I've put post-it notes in it. I've highlighted it. I love it. And I use the tactics.
Nerd.
So therefore, just like the other 2 here, this book is something that's going to really help you improve your technique, improve your sales, and get you the results you want very, very quickly. And that's why I love it. So there you go. That's my 2 penny worth.
Thank you.
And I will add something to this. So for those people who are going to be watching this, if Simon, who's read literally thousands of books and has been in sales his entire life, and all of us gray hairs with wrinkly old faces are learning from each other, then that means that anybody out there, whether you're new in sales, you've been doing it for 40 years, can learn from this book and can learn from other people. So that growth mindset about, again, this whole idea of the, discovery and whatnot. I'm like, I don't know about this, Lee. I'm 4 chapters in and I'm like, okay, I get it. So
yeah. And
well, if I can add one other thing, in the sales world, there are so many different titles: account executive, business development specialist. But there is one title your employer can't give you, and that's sales professional. It's a title you have to earn. And the only way to earn that title is by having a commitment to continuous self-improvement, that you do something today and every day to make yourself more valuable to your prospects and clients tomorrow.
What he said.
Absolutely unbelievable. And boom. Thank you, Lee, so much. Listen, the first meeting differentiator. Concept number 1, the first meeting should be perceived not as a discovery, but as a consultative and consultation to ensure the person you meet with also receives meaningful value and interaction. Everybody pick up this book. It's brilliant. Thanks, Lee, for being on the show.
That was a Ricky recap.
That's a Ricky recap. He did it. He did it again.
Oh God, you're so right. Oh,
he did it again.
I did it again. Oh my God. I can't. Now you're going to have that in your brain the whole time. Lee, where can people pick up a copy of your incredible book and more information on you?
Oh, thank you. So the book is available everywhere books are sold, Amazon, wherever your favorite bookstore is. Wherever you do decide to get it, if you go to firstmeetingbook.com, firstmeetingbook.com, first of all, you can download the first chapter free. When you do buy it, come back there and sign up for the bonus exclusively for book purchasers. I'm going to be delivering 3 private masterclasses based on the content in the book to help you implement the strategies.
Nice.
Amazing. Good. Thanks so much for being on the show, Lee. I know people are
thank
going
you.
to pick up a copy of
That
the
was
book.
fun.
We'll look
Thank
forward
you.
to talking more, Lee. Thanks
Great
so much.
fun, guys. Thank you.
Very
Thank
good
you.
as we wrap up here. Thanks so much. Now, gentlemen, we got to wrap up very quickly here for everybody from the Sales Slap. Scott, who have we got on our next episode?
November 7th, we have Colin Cartwright on the show.
Oh, excellent. Colin, what a sales leader. Had known him for years. It's going to be great to have Colin on our next upcoming show. Everyone, thanks for being here. Co-host,
Thanks, everyone.
love
Be
you.
safe.
What a great day we've had, and looking forward to the next one as well, everybody.
Thank you for attending the Sales Slap podcast. Feel free to reach out to your hosts, Rick, Simon, and Scott, and our guests from this episode for more information.
Excellent, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see everybody on the next one. Bye for now.